Welcome to Pulp Mythos. We're going to be talking about Fargo Season 4, Episode 3, an episode that ended with basically the verge of war. You have these two rival families, the Cannons and the Fadas, and we're only 3 episodes in, but we're already hitting the conflict, it appears. Like, the war is brewing. Thank God for Dr. Senator, because this character comes in brilliant and is intelligent enough to sort of to calm the situation, to allow Chris Rock's character to sit back and reevaluate, okay, well, this is what we got to do, or this is going to be our next play. Before we get into all that, I said, welcome to Pulp Mythos. I'm Brian here with, excuse me, Spencer and Larry. And if you've not subbed, please hit the sub button, hit the thumbs up, hit the bell, leave us a comment. All that stuff helps the channel. We've been growing a lot in the last couple months, and we appreciate that. We're going to be covering the Fargo series through its entirety, all the way through episode 10. We're going to do the boys finale this week. We have the Raised by Wolves reviews up. We're going to be doing the Mandalorian. What else we do? A little Lovecraft Country. We're going to be we do Lovecraft Country. So hit that sub button. So yeah, Dr. Senator, Larry, you texted me. As you were watching the episode, you're just like, this guy.
Right?
How brilliant is this guy?
Because we avoided, just due to some strong critical thinking skills, we avoided that usual trope where, two things happen and it creates a war or it creates a greater conflict over a series of misunderstandings. Just from Dr. Senator literally thinking things through, like literally thinking his way through the entire episode of events that happened, after they're preparing for war and saying, oh, we got to do this, we got to do that. I need 6 people around my house, etc. How are we going to retaliate? And Dr. Senator goes, well, this and this and this could have happened. And then he lays out the entire episode. That could have been happenstance. The brothers could be feuding. So there could be a power struggle. And so we could be trying to hit them. And like us trying to hit them right now could actually unite them and feed into Giatano's plan if the brothers are feuding. And I just thought that was genius that for once it's like, okay, they didn't dumbly fall for this because that makes the plot easy. That makes us get to this war easier. And honestly, with as entertaining as this show has been for the last 3 episodes, if we never actually get there to a full scale thing, if it's just them dancing around this tension like this for the entire season, and as long as those plot lines are resolved properly, still a good season in my book.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if they don't actually war, that's fine, because there's a lot of tense moments. There's a lot of action. The show does everything it needs to do as far as that Coen style. So yeah, I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of death. That's the only thing that sucks about liking certain characters. It's like I don't think it's going to end well for them.
Well, and it doesn't have to mean that Giatano gets killed by Dr. Senator or anything. It could mean that what's Meriwether's first name? Arita or Orietta?
It's something like that. Orietta Mayweather.
Mayflower.
Mayflower.
What if she just kills
who?
everyone? So everyone's dead, but it's not that they killed each other, or
Orietta just scoops up their money and moves to the next town.
Or Timothy Oliphant ends up arresting everybody and killing the other ones. Like there's so many characters in play that who could end up killing who is a pretty vast number of ways people can and probably will die.
But speaking of, go ahead.
Well, just saying, while we're there though, while we're talking about this conflict, let's talk about the person who is egging on the conflict, who's trying to push for war more than anybody, Giatano, who I earnestly don't think is as tough as he's proclaiming. I don't think he's done half the things that he's mentioned. I don't think he was there for a lot of those events. I don't think he was on the front lines the way he says he was. Because doesn't Giatano, and I think everyone growing up has had this kid in their school. The kid, like Giatano gets off this plane and he's talking to the Americans, he's talking to his guys, and he's like, we're tougher than the Americans, this and that, we've been through this, we've been through that, we're the Favas, we did these things. His family may have done those things, but I don't know that Giatano necessarily has done those things. Much like, that like I said, when you were in grade school, there'd always be that transfer student, or at least everyone eventually had that transfer student who was like, "Oh, I'm from here. I'm from this place. I'm from that place. You guys better not mess with me because we're real tough where I'm from." I think Gaetano is that. I think he's going to be pressed and in a situation where he's on his own, and he's not going to seem as tough. Because usually when he's the tough guy, he's in some very safe situations. He's got his guys around him. He's in a place where people don't want things to pop off. When it's just him, we'll see how tough he is. I think he'll have a completely different personality.
I didn't need a transfer student for a kid to be a lying asshole. Those kids are just regular at that age.
Well, yeah, but that's a common trope
just...
that someone would come from somewhere else, potentially maybe, I don't know, be a little scared or something, so make up stories about how tough they were in their hometown.
Well, that's anywhere from new. It does, yeah, like you said, hometown. It could be, someone moving from, Chicago to Indianapolis. It's just new areas. It's even adults try to fit in. So he's trying to fit in the best way he knows how, which is through control. He's trying to control the people. So everybody does it. So it's not that far-fetched that you're thinking that he's making shit up to try and impress people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is exactly, I think you hit the nail on the head, because that's exactly what I'm trying to get at. I think that's 100% his personality, that it is a defense because he isn't this guy that he says he is. And he's scared to look like the weak one.
Yeah, I haven't quite figured him out yet. You might be completely right in that. He's not yet, you're right, been in a situation where he seems intimidating and imposing, but
he hasn't been tested.
He's constantly got that knife, but he never really pulls it out. I don't know. And why hasn't he, if he really wants power, all he has to do is kill Josto,
Mm-hmm.
And yet he hasn't. He doesn't respect him, clearly. so there is that. Clearly that feud is going to play out in one way or another. I don't see a scenario where both of them survive. I would be shocked if that happens, in fact. Now, the question is, how does it play out? I don't know.
And it's hard to say. And if what I'm thinking is true, then, he may not make a move at Josto, at least not the way we think, or he may try something and Josto, just remembering the kid that he was in their old country, Josto might check him and might check him hard and might just decide that he's sick of his brother's posturing.
Well, the ultimate thing happened in this episode, and so I'm assuming we'll get some kind of answer to this in the next episode, because he basically sent an order to assassinate Cannon's eldest son, and he wanted to test Rabbi Milligan in the process. He didn't do the hit. He was like, no, our boss didn't order this. This is bullshit. And now what? So now Josto is going to get word that your brother ordered a hit. It didn't happen, luckily, but this has put us on the brink of war, in which both sides would suffer. There would be deaths.
He's gonna kill him. I thought he was gonna kill him when he was sitting in the chair.
Yeah,
I thought Josto was gonna shoot him when he was basically talking shit to him. I thought he was gonna Fredo him.
It was kind of a tense moment. It was hard to see what was going. Well, it's hard to say what was going to happen, but he, so far, other than this attempted hit, and at that just ordering somebody else to do it, he didn't take matters into his own hands or anything. Other than that, he's just kind of prodded him in the way that little brothers sometimes prod you. I say from experience as a man with too many brothers. The whole pulling the picture of home off of his wall.
That was funny.
Yeah, that's definitely a kid brother move right there.
We're introduced to a new character. The whole intro of this, I love how every episode, and it's just the style of it. Every episode, has that cinematic, almost film quality to it. And the opening, we're introduced to U.S. Marshal Duffy, as he's known. He's a U.S. Marshal, and he is a Mormon priest. And they introduce. I did a little research on this. The cop or the sheriff of the town basically references how you're there in Missouri, and he's like, he's out there, talking about how he's a Mormon priest, and he's like, there's a kill order on Mormons. And I did some research. Apparently, in the early 1800s, there was something known as the Mormon Wars. It took place in Missouri. It's crazy.
1838.
There you go. You can do research on it. It happened, but at the result of it was there was this sort of kill order put into law. It didn't end till the 1970s. So this takes place in the 1950s. So anyone coming around, especially in Missouri, in a major city, declaring that they're a Mormon, that would have been controversial at that time. I wasn't there. I'm just going off of what I've read and what the show is saying. But interesting character. He likes carrots. Bit of an asshole. Religious guy. Apparently really good at his job. Or at least he proclaims, he's really good at hunting people down. He's hunting down the bank robbers, which leads him to the funeral home, which was the ending of episode 2. They raid the home, and he does not find the bank robbers. And the other thing, he's partnered with the dirty cop that's working for the Fada family. So, yet again, more characters introduced, and it's wrapping and connecting to all the different plot lines. Where do you think his story is going to go? And is he going to get tied up in this war?
Unfortunately, I think he is. And I don't think it's because he's crooked or anything. I think he's going to end up getting in one of the family's way, and he's just going to be like a bystander.
Oh yeah, I think I think he's going to wind up getting in both their ways, and that'll bring heat on both of them, just trying to get rid of this guy.
Or it could even be one of the bank robbers. They clearly, so Debrell, her sister, and I don't remember her name's like Zafina or something.
Ethel Rita's aunt.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
But she's shown that she is not only willing to kill, she
gives no shit.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that she pulled a gun out on Timothy Oliphant. His name's like Dickwad or Dickwick.
It's something weird, yeah. That they call, yeah.
But
Dickwad.
it was like Dick Wickham or something like that. But when she was gonna shoot him in the back of the head, and then Ethelreda was like, she kept like eyeballing her.
Remember, they killed 3 of Cannon's men.
Yes.
in that assault.
That's what I'm saying. But she was getting ready to kill a cop, like a marshal,
a U.S. Marshal. Yes,
right,
in a house when there was other cops outside. So she clearly is not all there and just doesn't care. So I think that he might meet his untimely death with them. They might have like a shootout.
Well, yeah, because those two are, like you said, they're clearly a little crazy and very, very reckless. The fact that they were going to, that they had the gun ready to shoot at the guy, and you see that, and just like Ethelreda is thinking, it's like, what's the plan from there? You shoot this one cop, and all these other cops in the room just light up the rest of the house and kill you and the rest of your family. They could have just stayed hidden. It was clear by the context of the conversation that the police were going to leave and that it was over.
I think they showed them plugging their noses. Whatever that giant body was clearly not doing well. Whether it was, exiting its, clearing out its lower intestine into the colon, or whether it was just rotting or what, but it clearly stank, because even the cops were, vomiting on their way out, and so were the aunt and her friend were trying not to throw up the whole time they were sitting in that. I don't know what those things are called. The coolers, the
right,
the dead body coolers. but I think that
I'm sorry, you just made it sound like it's something you can buy at Walmart.
it is. You just gotta buy a couple and then get also a circular saw. A jigsaw's not strong enough to go through bone.
But yeah, they were
sitting
in there, and they were they were gagging, and yeah, the smell was rough, and all they had to do was, maybe segue from there to another side of the house, because they were done searching. No one was looking in their exact direction. But yet their first instinct was like, well, what if we just shoot the guy right here? That was pretty dumb.
Well, and I'm not sure that he didn't know that they were still there. He seems very smart, and I don't know that whether it's an act or he's compensating, or I'm not 100% sure, but it seems almost as he knew that they were either they'd left already or they were still in the area. So I think that he's probably still keeping an eye on the house. He's probably still got people posted up around the area trying to track whether or not they come back. So I'm interested to see if he catches them here real soon because of some fuck up they had.
Right, yeah, because, and like you said, at this point in the series, it's hard to tell whether he's competent or they're just that sloppy, because he talked about his past victories. But sure, he perceives those as victories, but from everything he's expressed in the series so far, he's got so many biases. Who knows if he's ever caught the right person? The man's just got so many personal little biases about everything. Every little story he gave. I can't remember, the crooked cop when he was in the car. Yeah. Just sort of outlined a different thing that a different way that he feels about a different group of some kind.
Yeah, yeah, he definitely had a lot of thoughts about different groups of people. So we found out what happened with the apple pie. That was a big lingering question from last week. Who was going to consume it, and what were the results going to be? And the moment one of the bank robbers, I don't remember her name, but she started eating that pie, and I knew because they had already set up the fact that they were going to try and rob Cannon. And so I'd already put it together. I was like, oh shit, I see exactly where this is headed. And it did exactly what I thought. She consumed the pie. They go there. We get some more fart gags in a coffin. First, it's like a nice little romantic moment. They're laying there. They're about, they're on this adventure. They're hiding in a coffin. They're headed to this gangster's lair where they're going to rob it. And then they start, to kiss. And then she starts farting. And then in the course of the robbery, vomit. She's about to shit everywhere. I mean, it's a whole mess. Which was very funny, very Coen-esque. What the hell are these two going to end up doing? I mean, they robbed the guy who, her sister owes money to. Like, this could go really bad for all of them if Cannon finds out who.
Oh yeah, but they don't seem like people who think things through. But all I know is that chances are, since we got two so far, this is a rule of three situation. We're in for one more major fart gag in this series. I don't know, maybe someone's sneaking around somewhere. We're trying to trying to sneak past one of the other gangs, and just who knows. But it's gonna happen again, and if you didn't think it was funny the first few times, just brace yourself for that. But I don't think that they have a plan, like a real plan. I think their plan was rob him, take the money, and after that, their thoughts were, well, we have the money now, because they don't seem like the smartest duo. And honestly, I thought that scene was going to be way grosser, because I thought what played out with Cannon's people, I thought that was going to happen in the casket.
That would have been horrible.
Yeah, that would have been rough. Yeah. So I thought it was going to be a way worse scene. Any thoughts, Spencer?
What's that?
Any thoughts on that, Spencer?
I didn't hear you. I fell asleep for a second.
Fell asleep.
Like, well, damn, didn't know it was that boring. I got
Like shit, Slayer.
I've been up since 5.
it's like you're putting me to sleep, man. It's like you got to say something interesting about this show.
It is very late. Anyone who's listening, we're recording this very late. We were just talking about the. That's great. He fell asleep. We were just talking about how the robbery, the grossness, the farting.
Oh yeah. I
Oh.
didn't fall asleep. I just zoned out there for a second. No, I was all the farting stuff, all her Ralphing everywhere. I thought this may come in to play later. Her throwing up on the money, because when she Ralphed at one point, she threw up on the money. They use the ink pouches or ink cartridges. Banks do. Who's to say that this money's not going to be stained with vomit if they end up using it anywhere nearby? I think that
That's a good point.
grossness
Something.
may come into play.
That's a good point. I think since I think they'll try to spend it, and I think Dr. Senator or somebody will be there, and and they've of course told the story of what happened to Dr. Senator and Cannon, so they'll try to spend some money or buy something from them, or like a bill will be passed to one of those two, and they'll sniff the bill, smell the vomit, and they'll know that those were the two that robbed them. They're going to put 2 and 2 together.
Or they'll be in one of the banks, because remember, they're still trying to shop their credit cards to all these banks.
Yeah.
So if they're trying to get, if these two girls try to go to a bank to either deposit the money or, do something with the money like that, it might be a teller being like, oh my God, what is this? And saying something too, while Dr. Senator and old boy Cannon are sitting there.
Yeah, because they'll be trying to sell this to their credit card idea to another bank, and it'll probably get rejected again. But the guy will probably be like, you know what? I got you coming in here with these crazy ideas about a credit card, and now this crap right after these 2 young ladies came in and tried to unload a bag full of money that's reeked of vomit.
And it was chunky, so it was like chunky vomit. So it looked like somebody spilled.
Like somebody just threw up an apple pie.
Oh, yeah. So Mrs. Mayflower only was featured, really. She was in a third scene when she was delivering the pie, but she was truly only in 2 scenes, but they were hella memorable.
The best.
I forget the actress's name again, but a hell of an actress.
Jessie Buckley.
There you go. And she's a singer as well. Check that out. She's got a couple songs online, but so she gets a nursing job at the premier prime expensive hospital or whatever. I don't know what you want to call it, the rich people hospital, and
non-Italian hospital.
Yeah, there you go. And she leaves. She gets the job. Real excited about that. She comes down, and Josto is sitting there because he's still plotting to kill the owner, the director of the hospital. And she sees him, and she's insane. So she comes to him and has this assumption that he's stalking her. And as a result, she proceeds to get in the car with him, pretend like there's a thing between them. Josto has no idea who the hell she is. He doesn't remember. They share a little drug action, up the nose, and then she gives him a little hand action, sings him a song, and then cleans him up. And that's how it plays out. She leaves the car. Josto is like, "Who are you?" She's like, call a girl, next time. And then the look on his face of just like, okay, like what the hell? I'm sitting here plotting this man's murder. This girl gets into the car, gives me drugs. Like I said, gives me a little action, and then okay, I'm very interested in what's going to happen between those 2 characters going forward.
Yeah, I don't even know, but it's been a fun journey so far. Because could you imagine, like he knows he's like trying to place her, but during the time he's trying to place her, she just starts singing to him in like his apprehension to her starting, he's just like, wait, what's going on? She's like, shh, it's okay.
Mhm.
And then just starts singing to him, and not just any song. Like it's, she starts singing them like hymnals and stuff, and I was all like, oh my god, it was great. And then, like as she was singing, it was, the coming of the Lord, and
Yeah.
I was just waiting for that to be like timed out perfectly, and I was dying. It was so good.
Had to be the most confusing moment of his life. You know?
That's the best part, is that he didn't understand anything that was happening.
He was just along for the ride. And he's probably going to show up back at his HQ with his pants stained and everything. And they're like, well, what the hell happened to you? I'm like, I don't know. Apparently I met an old friend.
Well, it's one of those things where he would tell that story and they'd be like, dude, you were just, having fun by yourself in a parking lot. Because I wouldn't believe that if one of you said, hey, this girl who looked familiar hopped in my car and sang a song to me while she was shaking hands and and then cleaned me up and then told me to call her. Like,
Just left.
I'd be like, wait, what? Like, that sounds like bullshit. You got caught masturbating, and
It was such a weird scene, and that's one of the things that just kind of shows what I mean when I say if this war never really pops off, the show is dramatic and weird enough on its own that this was still a good season.
Good.
Yeah.
We got a great scene with Cannon, Loy Cannon, Chris Rock. It was almost like him basically doing almost like a routine, he's, stand-up comedian, but where a guy comes and asks for money, and then he basically is teaching his crew, his family, everybody about the idea of, I guess the lesson was when they see what I have, they want it, and they already assume it's there. You know what I mean? Like he has this whole message. It's a very paranoid. A lot of mobster films and stuff touch on this same type of story, same idea.
I think that listening to it, it seemed very relevant even today when you're talking about entitlement. Like the way he was explaining it, like this gentleman, him even showing that he had money, the guy was already felt like he was entitled to it. Like he was already daydreaming, spending it in all these different ways. And then when he didn't get it, he was upset because he felt like it was owed to him. And I think that's, you hear on the news, you talk with people and they're just like, oh, this next generation is so entitled. Well, this is shot in the 50s. Like entitlement's not a new thing. It's been around for a while, but I thought it was very interesting to show that. And that he was just like, fuck you.
I feel that was less about entitlement and more about the power and control that money or opportunity has over people. Because for one, when he says that, because he says it himself, he's like, this was never his, but I just robbed this man. And what he meant by that was not that he robbed him of what he felt entitled to. He robbed him of hope, because he mentioned all the dreams that he had, the way that he thought he could fix his life, what this money would do for him. So to me, it was more about that level of control. Like, see what this means, see what this does to people. Also kind of a reminder to his guys of, this is why we make this money. This is why we do what we do. So we have this power, so that this is in our hands and nobody else is controlling us in this way.
I don't disagree that it was a
show of power. His son disagrees. Or doesn't disagree, but his son is on the opposite side in that he believes that level of power brings death and destruction, and that Loy Cannon is responsible for the horrors that are, affecting their family.
Well, yeah, and And to me, like to some degree, that's about entitlement 100% to me, because Lloyd Cannon's son, unlike unlike some of the lower level people in his gang, and unlike his friend that was in the car with him, he has the opportunity to have that view, unlike the rest of those people. Unlike Happy's cousin, because he has that opportunity, because he has his father's money, he can easily have that view. Like, he wants to be a musician, he wants to have this, he wants to have that, he wants to live a whole different life, but everything his father provided him with gave him the opportunity to do those things. Otherwise, like, he may well be, he very well could have been the man on the street asking his father for money without those opportunities.
True, but his father also stuck his younger brother in a wolf's den with the hope that one day, he won't find himself hanging from a tree, which he himself felt could happen.
Very, very true. Very true. It's just like, I'm just saying that I feel like his oldest son also has a lack of perspective when he's like, he wasn't gunning for me and this and that. It's like, no, it was about you, but it was about you to send a message because of you. But what makes you think, with all your father's dealings and everything, that you can just pretend that your life is normal?
Well,
like, even if his dad gave it up today, it's like, okay, yeah, now you're just vulnerable. Now they're going to pick you off because they don't want you to be the threat you ever were.
Well, I think that's a young person perspective too. It's, when they talk about, people not knowing, having a very narrow perspective of, society and how things work, you only know what you see. And the younger you are and the more sheltered you are, which I'm sure he is, because if his dad's that big of a badass, he's probably lived a very sheltered life. And I mean sheltered as in he's always
he has a
protected, always
driver.
has somebody. Yeah.
So
It's
he's definitely privileged.
So when you have a very narrow view of how the world works, then it's, your perception of everything is very skewed. So I think that,
yeah, when
through
you have
money and everything else, it's just he is entitled, but it's also partially his own dad's fault.
Yeah, exactly, because he was handed these opportunities, and his father never put him in any sort of situation where he had to learn these kind of lessons. Very likely, if his brother gets out of the situation his younger brother will be a lot more level-headed than he is. Will think about these things, won't take for granted the opportunities that he has, because, like, all well and good, he wants to be a musician, but how many musicians actually make it on the level he wants to make it? And guarantee you, some of what's being pushed of his music career that he wants is through his father's money, not just the lessons, but some level of success. That buys opportunity. Even in music.
I think he's gonna form a Fish or the P-Funk All-Stars or some psychedelic band, because he's talking about how all he's doing is drugs and playing music. So it's not like he's playing classical music or anything. He's, just, it's a hobby for him. It's something that he enjoys doing, but he feels like he's going to make it rich. It's just like me as a kid. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a professional football player, knowing damn well that it's one in, a very small percentage of people ever live those dreams. And for him to be in if he's in college, is, 18 to 25, for him to still be like, you know what? I'm still going to be a musician. Like, he's too old to be trying to live that 1 in a million chance type of dream. However, and me and Brian talked about it earlier today, when you have that much kind of money, it affords you the ability to pursue shit that you wouldn't normally otherwise get to pursue. Like, if I had millions of dollars, I could be like, you know what? I want to be a playwright. I'm going to move to England for 3 years and study whatever. Like, I'd have that opportunity.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, when you have Taylor Swift money, then your parents can buy you a studio. So
Yes.
it is what it is. And he doesn't realize that that's what it caused his career. That if, like you said, he equated, he's like, you can either have the money and the power, or you can have safety. You can't have both. What he doesn't realize is, probably from his father's perception, and we don't have Cannon's background here yet, but we know what life was like for them in that time, and we're getting a good picture of it with this show also. His father's like, no, dumbass, the money is the safety to some degree. You don't realize that the reason you have the safety and the freedom you have to a degree is because of the money. And that's another thing he was trying to illustrate, I think, with that scene where he's waving the money in front of the guy's face.
Yeah.
All these things he's imagining, this future that he pictures for himself. Like, it's a future where he has this money, this power that I have. He's like, and I just took that from this man.
I thought the lesson was good, but it taught me also something important about Loy Cannon, in that he was teaching them a lesson, but they ended it with telling the guy to fuck off. Which shows me how he cares about most people, or anyone that's not part of his crew. He reminds me a lot. There's certain parallels between him and I won't go into The Godfather, but there is some Michael Corleone in the character. His son, Michael Corleone's son became an opera singer. He was into music and stuff. That's similar. Some of the stuff having very intelligent people around him, helping him make his decisions. He was someone that was smart enough to know, I'm not just going to make all the decisions on my own. I'm going to talk to other people and craft a plan, trying to think ahead, trying to go legit, have a legit business and everything. I mean, all mob stories have these elements, but there are things about him that reminds me of Michael Corleone, and of course, the way that story ends, it's not happy. So I don't know if this one's gonna, if this one's gonna go the same way or not. But another character we get a lot of, which we talked about in the last review, is Rabbi Milligan. We get a little bit more of him, sort of his role in the family. We question how his status with the Fado family. We now know he's nothing to them. Family. He's trying to teach Cannon's son, the way of the world and why it's shit, and that the role that they have to play in it. I thought they had a great scene together. I loved the scene where he tells him, if I don't come back, I'm dead or in jail. Can you keep doing your lessons? So he's trying to help the kid as best as he can. He makes the decision not to pull the trigger because he knows it'll start a war, and he realizes it was not given. The order wasn't given by the proper boss, basically, in his eyes. Very curious where that's going to go.
To me, he is the most intelligent and redeemable character so far. Like, I really want to see. I mean, I'm very entertained by Jason Schwartzman and Josto and Orietta. Like, those storylines are entertaining me. But to me, the one I'm most intrigued by is Rabbi Milligan's, by far.
Well, and part of the reason that is, I think, at least for you, and I think for the viewers in general, is because for sure, unlike a lot of the other characters, that he has a sense of honor. And you kind of want to see that rewarded, because he clearly has a code he lives by, and he seems like the type of person that wants to keep his word on things. And the only reason he seems to have betrayed his father is because he was shifty and shitty. Yeah,
he didn't trust his own dad. Yeah, after he basically sold him up Schitt's Creek twice in a row.
So my family is shite.
But yeah, I would like to see him come out of this okay. And I'm curious because you were saying earlier, I think, Brian, that now Josto's going to know, but will Josto know because Rabbi Milligan is not treated as family? Will he keep quiet just to keep that leverage? Because one thing he mentioned when he was threatening him and he was wrestling the gun, and he was trying to wrestle the gun from him, while they were trying to shoot Cannon's son. And he's like, you're dead now. And he's like, no, or are you dead if I tell Josto? Is he going to hold that just kind of over his head in order to preserve himself, just because he knows, for one, if he splits his family, he makes himself vulnerable. And he also and he also puts his side in danger as well. And now it's them warring with each other. It's not just them warring with a rival gang. It's a full-on internal war at this point.
I think that's a good point, but I do feel like if Josto can find out, not just from Rabbi Milligan, but Lloyd's kid almost got shot. They witnessed everything. So Dr. Senator and Lloyd are going to ask them what the fuck's going on. And if they bring it up to Josto, like, hey, one of your guys just tried to kill my kid, Josto's going to have questions. So I don't think that it's going to put Rabbi Milligan necessarily in a bad spot, but it might, because they said they didn't notice the driver.
They knew it was Rabbi Milligan.
Yes. So they're going to be like, what the fuck? So it may put him in danger just because they're accusing him, but I'm not sure how it's going to play out. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's the sort of thing where, well, like you mentioned, I want to see him well off, and I want to see him survive this series. I feel like it's not the kind of series where the heroes always win.
I agreed. I don't know how this thing ends.
And let's not forget this. That Cannon is from this town. Cannon grew up here. So what are the odds that even if Rabbi Milligan switches sides because Josto's people are being dishonorable, or his younger brother takes over, so he tries to help Cannon, and there's a good chance that Cannon would, or even Dr. Senator would just shoot him just in case, because they'd be like, well, this is the third time you betrayed somebody. You're an opportunist.
True. Dr. Senator gives, we talked about it briefly, he gives an amazing, there's an amazing scene with him. The stuff Emmys are made of, in which he's describing his time in World War II in the Nuremberg trials. And it's a great scene, it's a beautiful scene. He tells a lot about the character and, the way he's been treated, his intelligence, and the way he plans out things, and his ability to read people and all that. But the thing that really stuck with me is how much I wanted him to take a bite of those flapjacks. I mean, they look nice, and they were hot, and everybody had nice coffee, and I'm sitting there.
I wanted some pancakes.
That shit looks so good. I was like,
And I want to say he
put his money down and walked out. I was like, damn.
He probably wanted those flapjacks too, until he put all that sugar in his coffee. I would say, did you notice how much sugar this man poured in his coffee?
Yes, I did.
He was pouring while he was talking. He had like full paragraphs coming out while he was pouring his sugar.
He was just trying to stay jazzed, man.
Like it's hard to eat flapjacks after that.
But
he's already all strung out on sugar high, and he can't have any more syrup or anything.
We talked a little bit about that. When he said it was like, when he walked in, he's like, I'd like some flapjacks. I was like, fuck, I would too. Like, that was the first thing that popped in my mind. And then they were just there. And I was like, oh man, I don't know, it bothered me. But anyways, we talked about that scene, not that particular part of it, but we talked about that scene before. I know, Larry, you had a few things you were saying about it.
About which scene?
That particular, the speech he gives, basically.
Oh yeah, the speech. Yeah. Just I mean that shows a little background on him, where Dr. Senator's mindset comes from. Like you said, the way he can read people and the level of trust he doesn't have for people. The fact that he's always a little skeptical and always trying to think, what's the angle here? The reason why he is Cannon's main strategist and lieutenant. And it's one and it's a great scene too, in the fact that you get this and you get his motivation, and you feel that the character he's talking to leaves with an understanding for his perspective at that, and yet he still relays it like Dr. Senator was being an asshole about it. He doesn't tell him any of this. He doesn't tell him why they want that, and it's the sort of thing that it seems very clear. It's like, hey, we can kind of peacefully coexist if you give us this one thing. If you just let go here.
Yeah, but I thought that was very manipulative, because although I believe that he was, all the war stuff he was talking about, everything about the deal was bullshit. Like, it is all a power play. So for him to spin this tale, it to me shows how, like we've said before, how smart and resourceful Dr. Senator is, and how manipulative and he is like the perfect number 2 for Boy Cannon. It is.
Who does he answer to?
Who does number 2 work for?
Well, yeah, and it's not only a matter of that; it's also a matter of the fact that even when they were dealing with Joss's father, and when they were having that conversation in the park, they felt they were getting a raw deal, and they also, made an impassioned plea in that regard. And when you're like, and it's the sort of thing where it's like, look, you can only ask so much. You can only ask so much, and it was clear that they were kind of on thin ice, and that it was uneasy in the first place. And they see a moment of vulnerability with this group in a community where like Dr. Senator just laid out, where they're often taken advantage of, or someone will often try to take advantage of them, and they have this one thing where they kind of want to say, no, this is ours. Mostly our people are working there in the first place. This is ours. Let us have this. And that's what it comes down to. I think at least if you want to get Dr. Senator's perspective on it, if you want Cannon's.
Yeah, but I think that goes back to entitlement. Just that would be if all my family worked for this gas station. That wouldn't mean that I get to own the gas station. I think that it's a power play, because they've said it several times. It is right where they're already doing work. It's close to their territory. Like, all these things are beneficial for them to have it, but they're trying to seize this opportunity. They've showed several times that it's not that they need it, even they want it. They're trying to.
Oh yeah, absolutely. My thing is like, and not even saying entitlement here. I'm not saying it's a sense of entitlement or anything, but I am saying that they're mobsters, and they want it. Yeah. Like, they're mobsters, they want it, and they feel it should be theirs. But the thing is, like, they're playing no dirtier than the competition they're up against. They're often in their community, much like the Italian people they're working with, they're often dealt a bad hand, and so they're taking what advantages they can get.
Oh, I don't see that as anything that a organized crime family wouldn't do. Like, they're taking advantage of. They see a crack or a weakness or an opportunity, and they're going to try and take it and capitalize on it.
Yeah, and Josto was clearly okay with the idea if it all checked out. Like, if you go back to the last episode, Josto wasn't that heartbroken about the idea of really losing the slaughterhouse. He was like, well, did Dad make that deal? He was just trying to, he was afraid that he was being punked out. That was sort of his concern. Like you said, the whole power thing. It's his brother that escalated shit the way he did, and we didn't know that as viewers in the last episode when his brother took the crew to confront Dr. Senator. Turns out that was he did that on his own. Josto did not send them, because Josto says, I heard you started trouble at the slaughterhouse. So now we know that the way that all played out was not part of his plan. He clearly wants peace, and he even gave the order last episode, no killing. So Josto seems more willing to his main focus right now, which is yet again the way the show is written is so clever. Justo does his head isn't even in the game as far as this war. He's focused on this hospital director. He wants to kill this guy. That's it. Like that's his main focus. Yeah, he's dealing with this stuff on the side, but that is the thing that is driving that character right now, and all this other shit sort of happening around him. Now, obviously, he better get his head in the game, or he's going to get taken out. But
that's a good point, man. Because if his brother is in the least bit competent in the slightest, then this whole focus on the doctor and the fact that he keeps pushing him in that direction is his way of distracting him, his way of kind of taking him out of the game and pushing him in a direction where he can say, you see, you haven't been leader. All this is going on. And of course they follow me because you're doing nothing but following this doctor around, not actually killing him. You're doing nothing right now. You're not leading. You're not avenging our father. You're just you're wasting time. You're sitting on a throne all day. And that may be how his brother tries to seize power. If he's smarter than he appears, in which case you've made me think that there's a chance he may be. Because I'm trying to remember his name. Is it not Josta, but his younger brother?
Giatano.
Yeah, Giatano. Yeah, Giatano was the one that pushed him in that direction. He's like, hey, you haven't taken care of that doctor yet while you're mad at me for sitting in your chair and giving orders.
I do love the chair stuff.
Well, he was pushing all the buttons with that whole scene. He was fucking with all of them.
Well, and the fact that Jason Schwartzman's I'm a short guy. He's a short guy, and that chair's so damn big. And when he sits in it, it swallows him. I laugh my ass off.
Hey,
well, like I said, I thought the funniest thing.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't fit that bad.
Yeah, I still think the funniest thing was his brother just being so petty and snatching the picture off the wall. Yeah.
He's like, put that back. He just took
it. I did notice something. I was talking to my wife about that. It looked like there was patchwork over top of that. Like somebody had patched a hole or something. Now, I don't know if they were just trying to show the emptiness of him taking the picture or if there's something behind where that picture was. It looked like wall putty, like someone had patched a hole in the wall.
Really? I didn't notice that. Well, I did notice that, but I guess that makes more sense than what I thought. Because my thought, because of the difference in colors, was like, man, that's a dirty wall. When was the last time they cleaned that? Because it looked kind of brown, except for that one section that looked kind of yellow, if I'm recalling correctly.
Well, I think they were trying to symbolize the picture being gone, but even looking in that spot, the spot that was highly discolored, there's two little like squares with like brush marks over top of them. Yeah, and it wasn't around that area anywhere else because if they just did a shitty job painting or the style of the time. I don't know what the fuck houses look like in the 50s, so I have no idea what a reference point would be, but I think that it looked like there was something there. Now, that could just be one of those things where it's supposed to make you think. It could be nothing. Like, I don't know. It's something that I don't know how that would tie into the plot. But
not that it's relevant either, but later Giatano, he was when he was at the bar, he had the picture with him, and he was looking at it longingly, so it does appear that he legitimately misses home. At least that's what that scene appeared to be to me.
Well, Jost was going to send him there in a casket here.
Well, maybe. So we literally covered every scene and every plot. Is there anything else you want to talk about in the episode?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything. I think we kind of exhausted this.
All right. I'm loving this show. Halfway through this episode, I was like, "Damn, this is just fun." I was enjoying writing the notes. I was like, "Man, I can't wait to talk about this."
I enjoyed this show much more than I figured I would enjoy it. because of the acclaim that it had already, and the fact that, well, you know me, I love mob movies and I love mob shows, but I enjoy
Except
this.
The Wire.
Well, because I've never seen The Wire, and that's the odd part. The only two big ones that I haven't seen The Wire, and I haven't seen The Godfather.
Oh,
Jesus Christ, Larry. Those are like
I would
the
say, well,
two. How
say,
can
well,
you
Brian,
say those are your favorite?
Yeah,
and not
we've
watch
had
the
this
two biggest
talk
staples?
a million times.
we've had that a million. We've had get-togethers with friends where we try to sit down
This is
and
true.
watch all the Godfather movies, and something always happens, and I never get to see the whole thing. So I've seen pieces of The Godfather, but I've never seen The Godfather in its entirety.
Yeah. Yeah. These
I mean,
are
it
facts.
was like a 15-hour adventure.
I haven't seen enough of it to tell you what happens in the movie.
That's insane.
I mean, I can quote some memes for you, but that's about it.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to get on The Godfather here. All right, we're going to wrap this up. Let's talk about that off here.
Say, if not win now, then win.
You will go to the grave without seeing Godfather. It was one year I was going to buy it, like the collection. I remember, and I didn't. Like, yeah, maybe there's some reason you're not supposed. Maybe there's some kind of time.
You were gonna buy me The Godfather, and then COVID-19 happened.
There you go.
Larry number 2 is like thwarting you at every chance because if you see it, you're ruining the timeline.
Or you'll achieve all your dreams. It'll inspire you in a way. Oh, but all right, we'll see y'all next time. The Boys season finale on Friday. We should be getting that video. I believe we'll get it up on Friday. We also have Lovecraft Country next Sunday, and then at some point around that time, we're going to be putting up reviews for Bly Manor, which will be hitting Netflix on Friday. So I don't know. There will be 3, 4, or 5 parts to that, probably around 3. Those will be going up through October, and yeah, so look out for all that stuff. We will see y'all next time.
Bye.
Bye.